Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
26. Well, before I connect with Dr. Masang again, Honorable Sibambi, when you are before the committee, you said you supported the bill in its entirety. Here we are now with amendments. No. Doesn't this give an egg on your face?
No, my memo was quite clear. I said that I support the bill in the
entirety.
Except for areas I've highlighted here and have not adopted. So basically, I really did not agree with the sentencing in the bill. I thought it was disproportionate. It was not appropriate. Yeah, that one I did not support. I also did not support the powers, overwhelming powers given to the minister to handle specific dockets and make regulations. Otherwise, as it is, I supported all the other areas.
Okay. But there are now voices calling for the rejection of the bill.
Which is in order, because the purpose of consultation, referring to these committees, was to get the different views and responses. So unless you're talking about throwing the bill, then almost 50% of the bill, for it to collapse, that's why you have a problem. But the areas talked about are actually narrow. For example, most of the people are talking about issues to do with the economy. And that is just one sector out of the 9 areas under Clause 2. So I think as it is, in my opinion, we are the winners because we have presented this before Ugandans. And Ugandans
you and who?
Uganda. Because the sovereign...
No, you say we are the winners.
The sovereign Ugandans, the people of Uganda are winners because you're going through a democratic process, which was unheard of. It's not a directive.
And who are the losers?
As professor.
Who are the losers?
There are no losers.
No, you say yes. We are the winners. Who are the losers?
First of all, the principal and the government is a winner. Then the losers are the people affected under Clause 2 who have been taking advantage of a non-existence of a law to do mischief. Whether it is 1% or 2%, even if it is only one Ugandan.
There is an argument that this law, once passed into law, is an affront to the desire for constitutionalism and good governance.
That should be presented before the committee, and you have...
it has been presented.
Yeah.
It has been presented.
Let us wait for the report. First of all, for it to say that is an unconstitutional law. But as it is...
I have read in fact, it was the same view, mostly from legal papers, about those constitutional things. And
yes,
one of them surprisingly said that the bill violates Article 1 of the Constitution and Article 8A. Article 8A is the one which gives power to Parliament to legislate for purposes of protecting the sovereignty and the national interests of Uganda. It clearly states so in those words. There is no way that can be said to be unconstitutional. Now, but anyway, even that constitutional argument was related to what they were referring to as the definitions or some text being overbroad. What these amendments have done is to clarify and be very refined in whom they are targeting. That is why, for example, they have removed the reference to a citizen as a foreigner. They have taken away the power of the minister to define whom a foreigner is. They have given the minister timelines within which to react on certain duties given to him, 14 days, etc., etc. They have created criminal intent where there are penal sanctions.
Why are you saying we have, like in
Sibambi?
Well, I think Ssemujju is talking in terms of we the people.
No, we the NRM.
No, we the people of Uganda, because this is a consultative process. The legislature, remember, is also exercising its power on behalf of the people. So it is a win for the people.
Thank you, Mr. Barata. I'll get back to you. Dr. Mhumuza, the bill is overly political in its drafting, the defense, and the voices.
Yep.
What is at stake for the economy?
Well, I've already said, even the previous leaders, none of them sat anywhere to say, let me kill the Ugandan economy. Amin took his own decisions, Obote did. Some of these decisions turned out to be very, very bad for the economy. But that was not that they wanted to kill the economy, but they ultimately did.
Inadvertently.
Yes. Now, what I am hearing here, you can be sincerely wrong. You can do an overkill if you have not done good consultation. If the drafters couldn't even get the definitions right, something was missing. Because now we are doing definitions on the floor of Parliament. Really?
Incidentally, that definition was not wrong.
Why is it being But you guys already, you are saying you are changing definitions.
It has been clarified, but
ambiguous.
it was not a wrong definition.
Let me finish my submission. Yes. Because now the one even you want to catch, you're not sure whether you have included Ugandans as foreigners or not. Now you're trying to clarify, as you're saying. You have swept into the economy all economic actors, knowing very well if I want to buy shares in a listed Ugandan company, do I need to consult a minister? But money is going to move across borders. So if you have not done very good definitions and understanding the nature of business, you are going to kill the economy.
Do you worry that even the amended version could be vague?
I am waiting for the final document, and I'm sure the president's guidance to them to say, please, don't touch the economy. We know who we are looking for. Leave the others to survive. Because Museveni knows where he got this economy from. The Americans simply said, we are going to present to President Trump a new idea on how we deal with Iran. The dollar per barrel went to 126, a price we last saw in 2022. Economy hates noise. So even the noise that is being created is already disrupting your economy.
Well, I'll hold you there. I'll definitely get back to you. And let's connect with Dr. Matsanga again. Dr. David Nyakorach Matsanga, when you listen to the views that have been expressed so far and the sentiment on the ground, does it give you an impression that somehow government is going to listen and bend?
The government has already listened. The president has, if you have studied English literature and you pass very well, like some of us can understand the letter of the president, it's very clear. Someone, in fact, Dr. Muhumuza there, the economist, has put bad drafting. But one day, you cannot. A whole Attorney General has got a department of drafters. It is a bill, a sovereignty bill is everywhere in the world. But the president has told you in the opening remarks, in his letter, in fact, for us in the diaspora, the president has answered what we are worried about. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the president for having answered our worries. Because most of the people who are one, we are worried. And for me, as long as you leave the KO alone, Dr. Masanga will not make any noise. So for me, I'm happy on that one. Now, let me come back to, there's a point that Sibambi was trying to raise. You look, a constitution is a moving object. It moves. It's not static. It's dynamic. But how you change it is very, very crucial. That's why there is an Attorney General with a whole ministry of men who know how to draft a comma, a full stop, and whatever it is. The problem came here why people quarrel for nothing, and a conflict can arise. And the president is right to call it kerere, because people were making kerere over something which the Attorney General had not looked at. Surely, a whole department with so many people, you should have known. So, for me, the point that I want to take home is, for the diaspora, we are happy, a bit happy waiting for the question of the MP, unfortunately, my good favorite MP there in the corner, You know, I'm not seeing you properly, but in the corner, that younger man of mine, Ssemujju from the Daily Monitor, I know you very well. You are going away, but you used to debate very well. You should go back and debate. Our new parliament should reinforce institutions. Let the institutions bite. Sibambi, don't tell me this story or that story. Institutions in Uganda are not biting.
Dr. Masanga, thank you very much. And let me get back to the panelists. Honorable Ssemujju, the speed at which the bill is being processed is also begging quite a number of questions. There is fear that this bill could actually be passed on Tuesday next week. Is it what you're reading on the radar?
I think the order paper is crowded. I'm not sure because there are requests for tax exemptions, I think 2-3 of them. Ordinarily, they will take a bit of time. But I've also spoken to many NRM MPs. And I think that's why it is the new recruit in Sibambi who is moving from one station to another. You don't find many NRM MPs going on radio to defend the bill.
It's tight for them.
I have spoken to many of them. They are also uncomfortable.
I don't know if Kagwanja invited them.
I have, because the bill now has a spokesperson, why he should waste his time? Museveni is the spokesperson of the bill. So many NRM MPs...
That's a very rude tag.
No, it's not.
No, I am actually
He's
just...
actually saying the truth.
Yes.
You are the spokesperson of the bill.
Not really spokesperson, but I speak for the bill because
Yes.
there's an emergency and
You
it's
see,
necessary.
I have met many NRM MPs. They are also uncomfortable. The president had a caucus meeting in which General David Moores made a presentation and MPs never even sought clarification. The same thing that happened with the budget, and then they left grumbling that they should have allowed that to ask questions. So there will be another round of weeping for them to come and pass this bill. And then there are processes in Parliament. I'm not sure that the Speaker will want to override all the processes because in our rules, once a report on a bill has been presented, you must allow MPs 3 days to go and read and internalize. But most of the political bills, before I joined the Parliament, they are driven at that speed. They will seek to suspend all the rules. I don't know if they want to do it shabbily like that. Because that's the process, that's the normal process in our rules, that these committees that are doing work, when they present a report, you allow us 3 days, which means you may have to go to another week and then a new parliament if they want to follow. But for me, Njala, I think all of you are missing the point. You are being misled by intelligent NRM lawyers and their new recruit. This bill, look at 2 things. And Museveni he has a focus. He wants to deal with the opposition. He wants to deal with the civil society.
Is this the last nail nailed in the coffin of the opposition?
So that's the target. But he's not sure because he now knows the receiver, where he has had a problem is with the sender. Who sends money? Can they receive it through religious leaders? Or those ones, I don't want a war with them. Those ones you can remove. After listening to Bank of Uganda and the bankers, he said those ones are also removed. But the rest have remained. The Ugandans who are outside have remained. And I have seen Masang, who is saying
the diaspora is happy.
Parties shouldn't go to London to raise money. I don't know whether London he meant the British government or he meant Ugandans. Because even NRM has diaspora chapters. I think they even have representatives to their organs. What stops a Ugandan living in a wherever from funding a political party? And you are very happy in every government document, finance, they will start by telling you how much money they are receiving from Ugandans working abroad. So if they are the one who's sponsoring school fees, health, what stops them from dealing with the politics of their country? Because many of the Ugandans who are outside are economic refugees. It's not that they went to live in very good countries, but the reason they left here was because there are no jobs here. This government committed that every financial they should be creating about 800,000 jobs. They keep lying that we are creating 300,000. They are not creating them. So as a result, you have Ugandans who can't find jobs here, go out to work. I mean, you cannot be the same people celebrating them sending money to pay fees, to pay medical bills, and then when they send money to their political parties, either through their chapters the KNRM has, that is criminal. How? How?
Mr. Barata, what does it mean when a bill is clothed in politics? Because the wide perception now is that it is out now to deal with the opposition.
First of all, let me just. I wanted to state again, because this misrepresentation has continued, and I think it was the only thing that the political people had in their hands of the diaspora money. The bill,
not only political, even central bank.
One of the issues here was one of the things in the bill, actually a very fundamental one, is the principal-agent relationship. Surely, if your mother is sick and you send her money, that cannot create a principal-agency relationship. Your mother is not sick for you. Even when you treat her, you are not treating her for you. An agent is acting on behalf of the principal. It's a principal agency. So there was a misrepresentation there. But coming back to your question, and you had asked it even before the break, you said, you have now asked differently, what does it mean? But what it means is just a question of how people craft narratives. You asked before we went for the break, so have you lost
the first round?
Have you lost the first round?
Yes.
But there is no losing. This law was presented by Ugandans for Uganda.
And now you've gone to the extent of amending.
Loss. But the idea of crafting this narrative as there was this side versus this side, it is a wrong narrative.
Yeah, but it's apparent.
No,
it's apparent. When
otherwise,
you look at
if it was a question of sides, you would never have a function of parliament that calls for views. You would have a function, because the NRM has the majority. Why wouldn't we just say, as long as the NRM has the majority?
You want legitimacy.
So there must be. So the point I'm making is, this is a win. There is no idea.
No, but what is clear is that 90+% of the persons and organizations who have appeared
that is another
have
problem.
expressed objection to the bill.
Simon, that is another problem. We tend to and you will hear very many. I feel that they were trying to target why do we argue on feelings, on sentiments? Let's argue on what the actual thing is on the ground.
Yes.
There is an objective of the bill, which is clear. There is the necessity of the bill, which is very clear. So we have a problem with some of the drafting, some of the text. Even that, the proper way to deal with it, and that is why you have this process of the legislature, is for the legislature to go through the bill and look not only at the substance, but even on the text.
Dr.
And that
Mumuza,
has been sorted.
When you look at the persons and the organizations that have come before the committee, the Legal and Defense Committee, there's been wide objection. Do you think that the government has lost the first round of the debate?
You're insisting on first round. I don't know how many rounds you expect out there. It's real, as I've said, it's a process. The people that have come up are showing already that we deviated from what the process should have been. That's why they have come at this stage. So the first round would have been before we even come to Parliament. The people who have ended up in Parliament should have been consulted. And the nature of policy development, and sometimes the law, comes in to say, what is it that we want to cure and implement? When I look through some of the things that is when you read, a lot of these are already provided for. If you're talking about civil society, we already have an NGO board that was really handling
And
most
an
of those
act.
issues. And it's an act. There is even a body to implement it. So all of them were submitting their sources of information. They provide the information to have their licenses renewed. So what is this targeting as you keep removing out?
Yeah, it's targeting the defects. It's curing the defects.
Now,
When you go
could have,
Yes,
so you could have
wh-
gone back to the NGO Act, whatever it is,
Honorable
and
Sibambi,
say,
if I
are
could
there,
borrow your draft.
and are there loopholes here that we need
You are
to
reading
cure? Because now you're even sending powers
history.
to the Minister
Not
for Internal
history.
Affairs
It has
without a
been
structure
changed.
to do what you're asking
remains
him
the
to
bill
do.
brought.
When I refer to the first text,
Which first text?
this one,
No, there is only one bill. No amendment has been made.
there were proposals for amendment.
Those are the proposals. We don't know them because this bill was referred to a committee of parliament. It will change when the committee reports to say government has accepted these proposals. But as this is the bill that we should be
Okay,
discussing.
where it
Forget about
stands
the
now,
amendments.
the argument is there are defects in the existing law
Yes.
Which law?
to bar undue external influence.
Exactly. Now, do you create another law when there are defects in the existing law without withdrawing the other law?
No.
You either want to go back and say, are the defects so significant that they require a new law? That is not stated here.
Honorable Sibambi, you would come in here from a legal perspective.
Yes, from a legal perspective. I agree with the Honorable Ssemujju that the moment a bill is referred to the committee, you cannot even amend unless it comes back to the floor or plenary or parliament. But what is really important, when they are talking about the defects to be cured, there are two issues and perspectives to look at. You have existing laws like the NGO Act,
The political parties.
Anti-Terrorism Act,
Anti-money laundering.
Anti-Money Act, the Bank of Uganda Act, but those acts were passed specifically to handle those situations and institutions. And the moments of time in time are different.
So what are they?
So
What is this one handling now?
It's handling the issue of extraterritorial jurisdiction. That is important.
Not even outlined in this one.
The
You
what?
simply say they are defects.
No, okay, it doesn't matter. Then you go to the.
It does.
You go to the committee.
matters.
You go to the committee, like all the other people went to the committee, and you show those defects, and they collect views as it is. Poor draftsmanship does not throw out a bill. You only correct it at that stage, which is the committee stage. What I want to talk about, if you look at all the laws you are citing, okay, they are available, but they are meant to handle situations which are domestic. The most critical
big
thing,
overlaps.
the issue of sovereignty involves a big component of extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Yeah, but you're
So
talking
you
about
you cannot-
money coming out for there to come and affect sovereignty.
Exactly.
Already you have laws that
do what?
screen the money is coming
no,
out
at this
there
stage here,
from
you
who
at this stage,
and the intention.
at this stage you can handle a criminal offense.
Because even man, I would be worried about
Doctor,
the terrorism money.
let me explain.
Somebody coming here to fund ADF.
Let me explain. You cannot,
already have those
you
provisions.
cannot, for example, bring person who is not residing here within the ambit of these laws which are domestic. However, in the Sovereignty Act, Protection of Sovereignty Act, you can now bring that person like in treason and you charge that person for an offense committed elsewhere here.
Through the agent. Now, let me just.
Well, I think we have repatriation agreements, don't we?
No, repatriation, they're not
You are
universal.
dealing- you see-
You have a few countries, less than 20, who signed an
Simon,
agreement
I
with
want us to
And
be.
besides,
Simon,
I think the intent is also very clear. A clampdown on civil society. Because the text says, further, there is inadequate regulation of civil society.
Yes, which is true.
While Uganda values the contribution of civil society, there is an ongoing challenge in ensuring that civil society, especially those funded by the
Exactly.
foreigners,
Exactly.
operate transparently and in accordance with the laws, national policies, programs, and interests of
So
Uganda.
the NGO Act,
Exactly.
where was
Now,
it failing to deal with civil society?
It was failing.
That you
Let
think you will cure
if it
for
is
Simon,
involved
allow
a
me
foreign
an example for you. There was a man, a foreign man in Mukono. I don't know where you are not from Mukono.
Honsley.
I don't remember. He was giving out pigs. So ostensibly, he was supporting the strengthening of household incomes. But what was he doing in the background? He was in actual sense exchanging for small girls.
And what happened to him?
Now, just wait. So, the point I'm making here is when you talk about Anti-Money Laundering Act, money laundering deals with the proceeds of crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
And laundering them.
Yes.
That is why the word is there. So the money is dirty to begin with.
Yes.
This bill is not talking about dirty money. You can have your clean money. It is now what you are using it for.
The intention.
And from where.
The intention.
Where is the line between clean and dirty money?
But even then,
And when you ask, you see, you cannot reinvent the wheel.
The FIA will look also at the intention. What have you brought to the money?
You cannot reinvent the wheel, Professor. You cannot recreate your own legislative process. This legislative process.
I even asked you what happened to that man. We already had laws that dealt with it.
Because you are trying to tell me that all the countries that have...
There is an FIA in place, isn't there?
What you are telling me...
What if he was not residing here, but influencing policy and issues here?
Is a foreigner.
But his money was originating from elsewhere.
Okay. No, you're talking about if he's not staying here.
Yes.
How do you have that?
What obtains in this is fear.
What you
Government
need,
is legislating in fear,
what
right?
you need to understand,
Government legislates in anticipation of real threats.
What is the threat
It
now?
assesses the real threat is the threat of increased foreign influence through covert means. Covert means are those means that present themselves as bona fide, while in the background are actually not
I think
bona
let's
fide.
agree that
What
the
the
bad
law
drafting
was
not clear on who exactly we're targeting.
And
that's
this
why
is
the
why,
president said,
this is
remove
why,
these ones.
No, clause 2 is very clear.
Remove these
first
ones.
way, that is why the law is saying register and disclose
To a minister.
to the state
to the board.
through the minister. And the minister here is in perspective because remember the department
Isn't the minister having ridiculous powers?
there is a department under the ministry,
of peace and stability.
right? And by the way, there is no single legislation in Uganda that does not confer powers on the line minister.
Not excessive powers.
There is no single legislation that in Uganda that does not confer powers on a line minister. So this idea, I think you people want to create your own...
So there is going to be a minister who is over and above all the statutory regulations now in place.
No, the line minister, for instance, the Minister of Finance, you will find all the tax bills and the Public Finance Management Act are talking about the minister. So in the area of finance,
You see, for
the
me,
Minister
for me,
of
Njara,
Finance.
these government people sat down and identified money as the only influence. I went to the areas of Bunga and Gawa, and I'm not raising this in bad faith. The Eritreans, the Ethiopians, you go to villages, they have become villages of Ethiopians and Eritreans. So you mean the only thing that is going to affect the sovereignty of Uganda is money?
I met an Eritrean vendor in Kabusu the other day.
The Chinese, you see, the Chinese who bring here money. You remember they even wanted to rename Entebbe Airport, later they denied. If you go around Uganda today in Kampala here and Wakiso, you will find almost on every street Chinese are opening Chinese centers, Chinese supermarkets, Chinese everything. I thought that's what we should be discussing. Mechanical as he was, Idi Amin, and illegally as he carried it out. There was a problem when the Indians here had become a first-class group of citizens. Masaka Secondary School, to which I went to, at one time was a school of only Indians. We had 2 only Ugandan girls going to that school.
You are a girl and the other girl?
No, I said at one time because I went to that school when the Indians had already gone.
I'm joking.
Yes. The money that the Chinese are bringing here, I don't know why we concentrate on smaller things. The other day I told you in the budget, every financial year you are now paying to Chinese. I think in a year about 800 to 900 billion. They are taking in interest more than that. But so you have already mortgaged the country to foreign interest, and then you are here claiming everything is being done by Chinese. You are kneeling before them. They summon you, all you Africans. This president who was saying that Ethiopia was the only country that survived. China said all of you come to Shanghai, and they were running there. So if there is anyone a bill that we must make, it's a bill to stop Museveni from mortgaging Uganda. We've just done a budget. We are going to borrow 10 trillion from external sources. We don't even know which sources. A man who sends the delegation to go and beg, make us vulnerable before foreign interests. In fact, I told the parliament, if there is anyone who should be charged with being an agent of foreign interest, it is Museveni and his ministers. They are the ones who are in Washington, they are the ones in Europe, they are the ones in the Middle East. So this bill does not in any way coming here to protect our sovereignty. We have already surrendered it because of our own poverty. You have a budget, even these banks here in Uganda, you have about 25, 26 commercial banks, and they keep claiming in the budget they are going to be borrowing from the domestic market. They are South African banks. This is Stanbic, Stanchart. So the money, next year we have a budget of 84 trillion shilling. We are going to borrow 36 trillion, with the exception of this, the sovereign, pension funds. The rest of the money is going to come from banks that are foreign owned, and then we will be going to foreign lenders. So here, is there anything? And that's why the Bank of Uganda, I think, carefully said, you see, if you don't have money, there is no sovereignty to speak about. And every year we pass a budget which is into a law, because the appropriation becomes a law to say, please, we will be going to foreign interest as a country to borrow. Where do we start? We will start with China.
Dr.
After China, Middle East.
I'm glad you're back. Honorable Ssemujju raises a very pertinent issue.
He said, don't come to London to finance a political party. Why should you go to London to finance a government?
Should national sovereignty be hinged on money?
First of all, thank you very much, Kawan, my dear brothers. Ssemujju should know that there are people like a Open Society Foundation of George Soros. They fund to overthrow governments. Let's be honest.
Like
yes. Ssemujju, Linda Ko.
Was in Museveni getting money from Libya to overthrow a government?
Yeah. Wait. Please, Professor Sibambi, can you educate Mr. Ssemujju what the doctrine of necessity is? Or I come to lecture to you. The doctrine of necessity is the government cannot sit and watch when foreign funders whose website says they overthrow governments. George Soros overthrows governments. Yes, in Africa. There are some agencies in Europe, in London here where I am, that fund to overthrow government, not to build governments. There are NGOs that are good and that are bad. As a Pan-African myself, I am not agreeable to any opposition member from Africa who comes here to pick money.
What about government? So,
wait.
So you are uncomfortable with the opposition going to London to ask for money, but you are okay with the government?
Ssemujju, the government is allowed.
You are okay with the government to go and borrow money and fund NRM?
No. The government borrows on the constitution. There is a constitution that gives the guidelines for the government to borrow. Isn't it there? Ssemujju, you have done very well in this other parliament. You should tell the world, and you are one of the few younger men that I love so much. When you are on the floor speaking, I like the way you speak. Tell the country the truth is not the borrowing. The truth is that when the money arrives, we don't have institutions that keep the money. People misuse the money. People are corrupt. There's corruption everywhere. So that is one aspect. But for me, I want to take this opportunity because I have, since I studied English literature in 1974, Shakespeare, I have read the letter of His Excellency the President. I want to thank him for the last paragraph where he excluded us. We, the diasporians, we are excluded under some small money. Someone, look, Ssemujju, tackle the drafters. Tackle. And there's one thing that Kawanjala that I want to correct in Ugandan politics. We talk about Museveni only all the time. We don't, why don't we give His Excellency his part, he's played his part. This country is ours. Let's start talking about ideas.
Well,
what alternatives?
Dr. David Masanga, what a pleasure speaking to you. And well, it's heartening to hear that.
I want. Thank you,
diaspora. Thank you, Mr. Masanga. We'll definitely be glad to speak to you another time.
I just wanted to correct one impression, which, in terms of guiding this debate, you give the impression that we are talking about either economics and politics. But if you look at clause 2 of the bill, you have about 9 items considered by the bill. You also have another broad item talking or giving the minister more powers to handle what is not covered in the bill. This bill is basically about sovereignty in all spheres, economic, social, and political, but specifically to protect the people of Uganda from foreign or external influence. Things to do with influencing the direction of our norms, values, culture, and issues to do with economic sabotage, general policies.
Yesterday belonged to the opposition.
Yes.
Is speaking with a lot of enthusiasm.
Exactly, because
trying to block the opposition
I've been there.
From existing.
No. I've been there. People are selling cards and say environmental protection, and they keep selling cards. So the donor or the funders out there would give money with a view that this is money meant for environmental protection. Then when that money comes in here, it has 2 issues where governments have to get involved in legislation. It diverts the fiscal policy and planning of the country. 2, it is also a scam. So really you want to know, you are getting this kind of money for environmental protection. Did it exactly get involved in issues to do with the environment?
Well, so we'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll actually be examining what E26 means to the country. Honorable Nsibambi, could you define for us what national interests mean in this case and what sovereignty is?
Yes, specifically, Ugandans have defined this already in the 1995 Constitution, that power belongs to the people. So specifically, one would say that the feeling that this is our country, not patriotism at that, because patriotism is a little bit political, but that kind of feeling that you own your country and destiny. You must determine your destiny. The norms, the values and cultures must evolve towards what you wish to have as Ugandans, because we have different cultures.
So now sovereignty is being whipped by a law?
No, exactly, because the Constitution presupposes that. But the feeling of sovereignty is basically internal. It's a feeling. You own it. You feel it. You don't have to be shown. In law, this is what we call judicial notice. You don't have to say this is a woman and this is a man. Can you please put off your cloth? When it is at night, you say it's now dark. It's something you cannot define, but you see it. You really feel it. And it's quite important. It's from that kind of feeling and belief that you cannot even talk of development. You must have a culture of ownership.
Honorable Dr. Muhumuza, do you feel government now seeks to invoke that sense of sovereignty amongst Ugandans with the law?
You know, once you do not have economic muscle and power, you lose your sovereignty. And we even talk about sovereign default, that a country that is sovereign has defaulted on its debt. So I would get back to the economics of what are we even discussing. The president has been very clear. Sovereignty of policy decision making. Get back to that. The budget we have just passed, 40% of it, we did not have a say on it. Not even Parliament had anything as a say, because it is debt service. We take it to Parliament for information, because the decisions are already made. So if you can't even have sovereignty to make decisions over the bulk of your budget, you have fundamentals to address in that economy. So it's not about that I am sovereign and you say it. But literally, if you can't even move out of your compound to go out there, then your sovereignty, you need to question it. And I think that is where the president should be emphasizing when he makes this, for me, is a fundamental statement. Sovereignty over policy making. You want to buy drugs, you can't. You want to make roads, you can't. You want to pay your people very well, you can't. Because you literally have no control over your budget. It is all capped into boxes that are given, which you can't even
So
see.
is this a bad law now veiled in sweet words like sovereignty?
There are bigger things if we want to really talk about sovereignty of policy decision making. There are more things that we should also be talking. Not to ignore this one. But now the people controlling you are already sitting out there. If this 12%, and that's the concern of the governor, if you raffle those fellows and they say, I am withdrawing my money, I am not going to do that. You want to be addressing those fundamentals on how can I be in charge of my economy. So it goes more beyond a mere statement of some people here are bringing in money to influence a decision. Even those who are not influencing decisions politically have already influenced decisions technically. We discussed about the borrowing we have done, and Auditor General has written, avoid making agreements that mortgage our products. Because we have taken loans where in some cases the Auditor General has mentioned and said we have given away our assets. Now that area also needs to be very well addressed, and you find silence on that. For me, that is the real cancer eating on the power of the country to make a decision to say, I want to do this as a government, and then you cannot do it because of certain decisions that were done outside where the powers should be speaking.
Isn't it a big fallacy to say that you're protecting sovereignty in a country whose sovereignty is questionable?
First of all, Dr. Muhumuza, I think, understands very clearly and has stated what sovereignty is, except that I feel that his approach is rather defeatist, because if I take his logic, then we should never have fought for independence, because then we almost had absolutely nothing. That is not the approach that we can take. The approach is that you fight and you take your sovereignty and you protect that which you have gained while you advance the rest. But going back to your question, national interests.
No, let's first make a case for sovereignty.
And that's
Because
where,
you have lost your independence. You fought for it and you have given it away.
That is where I'm going.
The fallacy of sovereignty.
That is where I'm going, and I want to tell you that this is not a concept that has been introduced in this bill. Article 8A of the Constitution says, Uganda shall be governed based on interests of, and this is the word, national interest, and common good enshrined in the national objectives and directive principles of state policy. So even the term national interest and so on and so forth, that is not the first time it is showing up. It is in the Constitution. It is constitutional.
Okay. What is Uganda's national interest?
Where does it point us to? It says the national objectives and directive principles of state policy. And these are here in the Constitution. And there are many. There are many objectives, but there is one, particularly number 4, which is titled National Security, National Sovereignty, Independence, and Territorial Integrity. So if you want to know in brief what sovereignty is, it is here. It is constitutionally
What
stated.
is it?
There are many objectives, as I said, and I don't think I will have time to read all of them. No. But I can state for you.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, it is the supreme legal authority to self-govern, to determine your own policy, to determine your own direction, and as the president has rightly put it, to be entitled to make your own mistakes and not to make the mistakes that have been imposed on you.
In reality, is Uganda a sovereign country?
Uganda is a sovereign country, but Uganda continues to fight to improve and to strengthen that sovereignty, and this bill is one of the measures through which that fight will continue to protect even the little sovereignty that we have fought for over the last 40 years, in fact, over since independence, since 1960, even since before.
In which particular areas is Uganda enjoying any bit of sovereignty?
I know there have been people, there is one particular person I want to mention who consistently advocates that we should be recolonized. But I think if we have to go through that argument, then that is a problem. Then we are arguing at different levels. But first of all, you can see the demonstration, this debate itself and the debate that has been in Parliament for the last 1.5 weeks and so on and so forth. These are just simple things. The functions we had, or the elections we had from 15th January up to now, this is national sovereignty.
Well,
the participation of the masses in the economy of Uganda, this is national sovereignty.
Well, Honorable Ssemujju, you look at these as defining moments for the country where we now have to go back to ask whether Uganda is sovereign or not, and whether the national interests at stake that this bill seeks to cure.
You see, our level of vulnerability as a country, whether you're independent or not, remain. And I don't think Museveni seeks to strengthen the state of Uganda. He's just fortifying himself against the competition. What he accesses, he doesn't want another person to access. I remember when we were fighting with Rwanda, at that time we had a debate, sale of Uganda Commercial Bank. The MPs were very angry that Museveni had gone ahead to sell the bank against parliamentary resolution. So when Museveni was meeting MPs, he said, you see, we are poor people. So what Museveni said, you shouldn't worry. He said, I am a whole head of state with President Kagame. We are summoned by a Minister of State in UK. And she said, because it's not state visit, I will meet you in Chiangera at my hotel. That hasn't changed.
Chiangera in UK?
I'm just giving you an example. The level of vulnerability, I think today if a Chinese summoned Museveni, he may not even wash his face in the morning. He will rush, pick the next flight to Shanghai. Because they are the one sponsoring Entebbe, doing this expressway, doing this, using their money. And that's why their banks, Exim, have started opening branches here. Is that what Professor Suruma was talking about in one of his writings? He said, foreigners don't want us to have capital. So they came here and ordered Museveni to sell banks. He sold all of them. And they brought theirs where you go to borrow money. And they pay every financial, you're paying about 13 trillion in interest. So that vulnerability, until it is addressed, Museveni is not seeking to protect Uganda's sovereignty. He's actually seeking to protect himself in power. And that's why it is civil society, it is the political opposition.
Okay,
The
but do you agree
religious
that
leaders,
civil society organizations were problematic
Many of
to the national agenda?
Many of the people who are in civil society, I want to agree with the Bank of Uganda if I understood them. They are looking at it as a financial sector. The central bank said these NGOs bring in about 400 million US dollars every year and they employ between 20 to 50,000 people. I am not sure that many of those who are opening up civil society, that actually they are interested in what they claim they are promoting. But you have money lying outside there of people who want to donate it. If they take, even government, and you see, the way government behaves is not different from the way our people behave. When the World Bank and IMF said we are now sponsoring climate-related projects, all the writings in the Ministry of Finance have changed. Everything now is climate, smart this, because that's the money that is available.
And there's no money there.
Yes, so civil societies in Uganda and in many poor countries, if they are promoting media, you will have 20 to 100 media related. If it is human rights, then you will have 100. They are driven by the money, not because they want to promote those objectives, but they want to access money for jobs.